You can tell I buy a lot of my stuff from like YouTubers, right? I'm very easily sold to, you guys. Hey guys, so today we are going to talk about makeup that I personally regret purchasing. Now, I also have consequently decluttered that makeup, so it's kind of like a makeup I've decluttered and I regret purchasing it, and that's why I decluttered it kind of video. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully that sounds interesting, and if it does, keep watching. But before we get started, please make sure you hit that subscription button and that notification bell so that you and I can be friends. Let's just talk about some makeup that I don't like. Now, also, I have already decluttered this makeup from my collection because I moved house 6 months ago, and that's when I was like, okay, the stuff that I'm not using, it's gotta go. It can't come with me, it's gotta go. So if you don't believe me that I ever owned these makeup products, then just go to my Instagram. I'll put the handle here, and you can scroll all the way down through my posts and check the products that I've used, and I promise you, most of them or all of them will be in those posts at some point or another. Also, just a couple of disclaimers. I did declutter this makeup, but I didn't throw it in the bin. I only threw out anything that was expired, but I don't actually think I had anything that was expired. But I decluttered it to one of my friend's daughters who is 14 years old and is getting into makeup, and she's loving the products. So, and I did sell a couple of them actually because I only used them like once, but the makeup didn't go to waste is what I'm trying to say. And another disclaimer, just because I didn't like a makeup product that you personally love, it is not a personal offense to you. I promise we are unique. That's what makes the world so beautiful. I'm gonna like stuff that you don't like, and you're gonna like stuff that I don't like. So it's just makeup. Let's not take it so personally, okay? Cool. Now let's get started. Marc Jacobs is actually one of the brands that I've decluttered quite a few makeup products from, and all similarly because of the same problem, some of them because I don't really like them. So the first two products that I decluttered, not because I didn't like the product, but because an ingredient in the product was actually making me break out, and that is the Omega Tantastic Bronzer and the Undercover Coconut Primer. So photos will be here again. Now, these two products are amazing, amazing products. I actually repurchased this primer like 2 or 3 times before I realized that it was the actual coconut in this primer that was breaking me out. And so I was constantly getting breakouts like all through here, and lo and behold, it was coconut. I think I watched a video at some point where it was like, oh, some people are really sensitive to coconut and coconut oil. And then I looked at all the ingredients in this primer that I was using, and I was like, oh, wow. No wonder I'm getting breakouts. So I stopped using the primer, stopped getting breakouts. So any product that has coconut in it, I'm gonna declutter it or not purchase it to begin with. Hopefully I've learned my lesson. And the bronzer is really exactly the same thing. It was making me break out as well. The next couple of Marc Jacobs products, on the other hand, I didn't really enjoy. Now the first one is the coconut setting spray, and yes, this would make me break out because it has the coconut, so it had to go regardless. But it also just kind of sucks. So firstly, the packaging is shitty, like so shitty, and I hope to God that they have actually changed that packaging if it's still on the market. I haven't looked to see if it is. I hope they've actually taken it off the market. But if it's still on, the packaging sucks. The sprayer is like, it just spurts like goblets at you. It's not like a fine spray. So for example, like here's the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray. If I spray that, it's like, you probably can't even see it because it's so fine, and you can spray that on your face and it doesn't mess with your makeup at all. It does what it's supposed to do. That setting spray did not do that. It sprays like fat goblets of water all over your face, and then they're like, because of the coconut, I think it has like coconut oil or something in it, it just kind of like melted away your makeup from wherever you sprayed it. So it also didn't really work as a setting spray either. So that one definitely went. I used it like twice and I was like, hell to the no, and it went. So next one is the Marc Jacobs Remarkable Foundation. Oh Lord, was that foundation horrific. That made me look like an 85-year-old woman. I am not even kidding. It was just too much. It's too full coverage and it is too matte for my personal liking. Maybe you can get this to work for you, but I just couldn't get it to work for me in any way, shape, or form. It was just not good. Like I said, it settled in every single one of my fine lines. It made me realize I have lines that I never even knew that I had before because it settled in them. Like they were naked to the eye before it, but then because of that foundation, it like completely settled in them, and hello, lines. Now Tarte. Tarte is a brand that I have decluttered a lot of products for. Tarte is also a brand that I like quite a few of their products, so I do find that it's like a little bit hit and miss with that brand. And back like when I first started makeup, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, Tarte was in its heyday. Like if you had Tarte products, you were the cool kid on the block. So I naturally had a lot of Tarte products. And I guess they were kind of the first products that I introduced to my makeup collection. And as I purchased more and more products, I kind of realized that they weren't so good. So firstly, a couple of eyeshadow palettes that I decluttered from Tarte was the Tartelette in Bloom and the Tartelette palette. So the purple one and the beautiful flowering one. Beautiful packaging, cannot fault the packaging, and can't really fault the color scheme either. I think they're both really wearable, natural, everyday kind of palettes, and I think that's really, really nice. It's just really the quality that I didn't really enjoy, and I just didn't really find myself constantly reaching for those palettes, even given the neutral color scheme, which is really kind of my vibe. So I kind of just eventually got to a point where I was really never ever using them. Their matte formula is definitely not something that I personally constantly want to reach for. I definitely have better in my collection. So eventually I was just like, these kind of need to go to a home that's actually going to use them instead of just like sitting here and collecting dust and waiting to go off. In a similar vein of that is the Tarteist Pro Glow palette. Not the Tarteist Pro eyeshadow palette, but the one that had the 2 contour shades and the 4 highlighters. I actually really enjoyed the contour shades, especially the cream contour. If you wanted to do like a full-on, heavy, like full coverage contoured makeup look, that cream contour was really, really nice, and it did blend out quite beautifully. However, as I've kind of gone on my makeup journey, I'm like a little bit more natural nowadays. I wouldn't naturally gravitate towards that like heavy contour look anymore, and I kind of have better cream products and better powder contour products. So I kind of just stopped using it over the time, as well as the highlighters. I don't think I ever really, really loved the highlighter formula. It was a bit textured. It emphasized texture. It was a bit too chunky for me. So I never ever reached for the highlighters. I was only reaching for the contour, and I was like, it's gotta go. It's not enough reason to keep it. A bronzer that I decluttered from Tarte was the Tarte Park Avenue Princess bronzer. And I know that's a lot of people's holy grail bronzer, but for me personally, it just missed the mark. I did not like it at all. It was not the right tone for my skin. I think it was just a little bit too deep. It was a little bit patchy. It just didn't look super, super natural on my skin. And like at the time I had the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I had the Marc Jacobs Omega Bronzer. Those kinds of formulas are beautiful and creamy and nice and so natural looking that I really just never ever wanted to use the Tarte one, so that one got decluttered. So moving on to Anastasia Beverly Hills. Now there is a couple of products from hers that I have regret purchasing and have decluttered, and there's also a couple that I definitely regret purchasing but just haven't decluttered because I kind of just don't want to let go of the money, I guess. I don't know. Do you guys ever get where you like really regret purchasing certain things, but then you're also like, I spent the money, so I am gonna hold on to this for the point of it? Probably senseless, but anyway, that's why I've still got a couple of these. Anyway, let's move on. So the first one is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Cross Nicole Guerrero Glow Kit. Now I didn't recently purchase this. I purchased it on like the first round that it came out. And I purchased it because Kathleen Lights and everyone on YouTube that I was watching at the time was raving about how amazing this glow kit was. They were like, it's not chunky, it's not textury or anything like that. It's beautiful, like you have to get it, you know, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, well, obviously, if Kathleen and them liked it, then I need to have it in my collection.
I saw Katie Heron wearing army pants and flip-flops, so I bought army pants and flip-flops.
And so I purchased the Glow palette. Now, I don't know if my formula was different. I don't know if my opinion of a chunky glittery highlight is different compared to all of the YouTubers that were reviewing it at that time. But I personally found that highlighter palette to be extremely glittery and chunky and texturizing. Now, eyeshadow palettes from Anastasia Beverly Hills that I decluttered or regret purchasing. So the Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette, which I do have a review on, so I'll link down below. Beautiful palette. Honest to God, beautiful palette. Great formula. The shimmers are stunning. It's also a really nice color scheme. But I purchased it and I reviewed it, and then I was just, after like 2 or 3 weeks, I was like, I'm not reaching for this eyeshadow palette, like at all. And I'm not going to. Do you know why? Because I'm a basic ass bitch who wears neutral brown eyeshadows all day, every day.
Boring!
Like, I do the odd colorful look for my Instagram. In fact, if you look at most of the photos on my Instagram, they're probably colorful. But that's because I literally do my makeup for the gram, put the photo up, and then take my makeup off. If I'm wearing my makeup every single day, I'm wearing something like I'm wearing today, or I'm wearing literally one brown eyeshadow all over my eyes or something similar. So I just found myself not reaching for it, and I also was just like, I have colorful eyeshadow palettes. I don't need to hold on to this like for Instagram. I'm not going to create enough looks. I'm not going to get enough use out of it. So I ended up actually selling that one because I'd only used it the one time, and another girl on Facebook really wanted it, so I was like, happy days, win for you, win for me. But two eyeshadow palettes that I purchased from Anastasia that I still have, like I said, I don't know what it is. I think it could be that when I purchased these palettes, it was on like a trip to America with my partner, and it was like our first big trip away, and so like any of the makeup that I purchased from that trip to me is like a little bit sentimental. I don't know what it is, but I've held on to them. And it is the Anastasia Subculture palette and the Prism palette. Now, the Subculture palette, I know that most of you will know everything about this palette because it was pretty famous at the time. And you know what? I can't even say that I purchased this palette before the reviews came out. I purchased it like 3 months after the reviews came out and was still like, I'm gonna give it a go. So it's my own fault that I don't like it. But honestly, like, okay, yeah, the eyeshadow formula is not the greatest formula in the world. It's really, really not. I think I got the one that they reformulated after that one where it was like you tap your brush in and like the whole pan fell out, like completely powder. So I think I purchased it after that. So the formula itself is not too bad. It's just that it's kind of like not the best, I guess. Like the color scheme is beautiful, and that's why I bought it, because at the time this color scheme was really unique, and that's what I wanted. But I don't know, the colors kind of look muddy together because they're pressed pigments. They don't blend out well. You really have to pack them on and then lightly blend them out and stuff. And I don't know, it's just so much hard work for me that I just can't be bothered with it. And then the Prism palette I actually purchased because the color scheme really spoke to me. Now, I know that this palette is since discontinued, but I think I purchased it pretty much for this like yellow limey green color, this blue and this green. I'll do a bit of a close up for you guys so that you can see it. But this palette, and I really liked this color right here too. So I actually purchased this one because I really loved the color scheme, and the quality of these shadows are like your typical Anastasia formula. So this is a really nice palette. The only reason I don't really use this that often is honestly because even though I love the color scheme for it, it's not like the easiest eyeshadow palette to kind of create looks for, so I just don't find myself really ever like reaching for it. I regret purchasing these because this was like 120 Australian dollars for the two of them, and I really don't reach for them at all. And if I could take it back, I definitely would. The Hourglass Vanish Liquid Foundation. So not the stick, but the liquid one. And again, I have a review of that foundation on my channel, so I'll link that down below for you guys as well. And if you've watched that review, I really don't think that you would be surprised that I decluttered it. Because that foundation fucking sucked, to be completely honest with you. It was horrible.
Why are you the way that you are?
Now, I really like the stick foundation. That one's really quite nice. Is it my all-time favorite? No, but I do quite like it. And honestly, I have such high expectations from Hourglass, given how, one, how expensive their brand is, but two, how good their products generally are, that I was like, without a doubt, this foundation is going to be phenomenal. Spent 90 doll hairs on that freaking foundation without testing it first, and utterly hated it. So that is probably actually the biggest makeup purchase I ever regret buying. Like, honestly, that is it. That's the one. Oh, let's talk about a foundation that is discontinued that I definitely regret buying. It was like a impulse purchase for sure. So it is the Sunday Riley Influencer Foundation. Now, this has been discontinued, which tells me that the brand knows how much it sucked, but that foundation sucked.
You suck!
So I impulse purchased that in Chicago one time. I was there for work and I quickly ran into Sephora and was like, quick, let me buy everything that you can't get in Australia and run back out. So I purchased that foundation and I regret that because it was really bad. I tried to use it for a good year because it was so expensive and it was Sunday Riley, and I was like, I'm gonna make this work, and I couldn't. It just didn't like spread out properly. It was like no coverage, but it was supposed to be a full coverage foundation, and it just did not like spread out like a normal foundation. I tried it with a brush, a sponge, my hands. I couldn't get it to work. It didn't sit nicely. It clung to patches. I don't have dry patches, and it clung to some like skin, and it settled in pores, and it texturized, and yeah, it wasn't a solid foundation, that's for sure. The P. Louise makeup base, oh man. Oh, I regret buying that. I regret getting swept up in the hype of that because everyone was talking about like Nikki tutorials and everyone. You can tell I buy a lot of my stuff from like YouTubers, right? I'm very easily sold to, you guys.
Stop it. Get some help.
So I purchased that, Nikki Tutorials was raving about it, and I got it, and it was not great. I tried to make it work for me for like 6 months, and it just dried my eyelids out. My eyeshadow would not even like sit on my eyelids with that primer. It would literally like blend off into nothing. I don't know what I was thinking. I tried so long trying to make that work and it didn't, so we got rid of that one. All right, that is enough trash talking from me today, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads, and comment down below if you did enjoy this video and if you want a part 2, which could be drugstore, because I do have a lot of drugstore regrets as well. So let me know if that is something that you would be interested in. So wherever you are in the world, I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you next time.